checking. We are. Recording is in
Yeah,
progress.
we're
Um,
live.
yeah, so we will have people here. So we'll start here in about a minute. It's just I got a minute before the top of the hour.
Yep.
And,
So
but I,
we're live. People in the waiting room are no longer in the waiting room. They're actually coming in.
great. That's good.
So they can hear us and see us.
Yeah, that's good. You know what? I'm looking forward to this topic because yesterday I was at a conference and this topic came up a lot. How do we create? How do we break through in this incredibly noisy space? And we've been saying the space has been noisy for the last 20 years. Um, but it's gotten so noisy because of AI, because of all these things. And authenticity is so overwhelming.
Yeah.
And, and I think the more AI goes in a yin manner, authenticity gets to go in a yang manner, and that's how it's going to break through. So, yeah. So,
I'll say this during the webinar, and I know people are coming in. Welcome everybody. Thanks for joining us, and we'll start here in less than a minute, I would imagine. But
yeah.
um, you know, LinkedIn is doing the algorithm now. They're assessing posts on a scale of on an AI scale. And basically, the more it feels AI, they're downgrading its reach. And so it's pushing, if we really, there's a lot of people who have just been creating content to create content and check the box and say, I did it. But what's going to happen is it's going to get less and less reach. They really want to force you to be a human, as they should.
Yeah, and again, that's why people are saying, "Well, gee, my LinkedIn posts don't reach as many people." Yeah, because you're coming across it as a robot. Hey, you
Yeah.
know what? We got top of the hour here, so we should go ahead and start. Should we start?
Let's do it. I'm on you.
Let's do it. Hey, welcome to Leader-Led Content. My name is Mark Hunter. I'm known as the Sales Hunter. With me today, Brandon Lee. He's the founder and CEO of Fist Bump. What are we talking about here today? What we're talking about is how your leadership it doesn't go anywhere unless you have a voice. And we have to be able to put the voice out in a manner that people can relate to it. Because here's what I'm finding: information in and of itself doesn't go anywhere unless it creates transformation. The missing link between information and transformation is authenticity. It's you. We have to be authentic. There's a phrase, and I'll talk about it a lot during the session. That's called peak noise. We are truly at peak noise right now in terms of all this AI stuff. And you know what's funny? I think peak noise is going to be even higher another year or so from now. So the faster we get on the bandwagon of creating our own voice, I think it's smart. Hey, Brandon, you put this slide up, and let's talk about this. Why this topic? Why now? What are your thoughts on it?
I think this topic now is, I think this has been coming. I think pre-COVID, it started to come. And then post-COVID, it took a little bit of time. But the bottom line is buyer behavior has changed. And so you think about things, I know we say that a lot, and let's break down what do we mean by this? But more buyers are working remotely, which means they have a little bit more time at their computer. They're actually working longer hours because they're working from home. They have time to do research. When they're in the office full time, they go from meeting to meeting to thing, and they really don't have as much time to sit. So if they have more time to do research, the question is your company there? And if you're relying solely on your website, website traffic is really down because people are looking for more human ways of gathering information. I mean, think about it. Nobody cares what you say about your company. They're going to care about what other people say about your company. And I've seen a lot more of posts like this of people going into LinkedIn and saying, hey, I'm looking to acquire this type of software, or I'm looking for this type of service provider. Who do you know in my network? Like it's a shortcut. We're looking for different ways to learn about products. And simultaneously, as the graph says, is cold outreach is really, really, really ineffective now, unfortunately. We have to find more creative ways to get in front of people. And on top of it, humans still want to engage with humans.
It's so true on that. And yeah, I'm going to say cold outreach. You know what? I think it's too bad, but you know what? We've put ourselves, we salespeople have put ourselves into the penalty box because we're not worthwhile. We're not worthwhile to our customer. And again, this is one of the things that Fist Bump is all about. How do we create that relationship? How do we create that connect? Because here's the situation. If you know me before you reach out to me, I'm probably going to respond to you. We were talking before we began the show about Microsoft. And you say the word Microsoft, and you probably either think of either Bill Gates or Satya Nadella. Now, here's the situation. If Satya Nadella were to call you, Brandon, do you think you'd answer the phone?
The reason I may not is because I'd probably pass out in shock. But yes, absolutely, I would answer the phone.
Yeah. Now think about this. Why would you answer the phone? Because you know Satya. Because you wait a minute, you don't know Satya, but you know Satya, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's interesting. Isn't it amazing how our awareness, our reputation. In fact, pop up that next slide because I think that next slide is so key.
You got it.
That whole line there, your buyers search you before they meet you. Yeah. I mean, if Satya Nadella were to call me right now, I'd answer the phone in a heartbeat, like, man, what are you calling me for? I've got so much respect for you. Leaders have to create that level. Now, it's not just Satya calling, but anybody from Microsoft calling. We got some good friends who work for Natya and I mean, work for Microsoft. And the same thing, the halo of the leader permeates the entire organization. Uh,
And I think it breaks down to the individuals on the team too. Like our client Blue Hive Exhibits, Chris Dunn, who's done really phenomenal with his online presence and personal branding. He has a show called The Exhibitor's Toolkit, and he tells a story that he sent an email out, a prospecting email to a targeted prospect, and the response he got from the person was, "Hey, Chris, I feel like I already know you from all your posts on LinkedIn. Yeah, let's schedule time to talk. I look forward to meeting you." That we have this ability like we never have before to let our reputation go before us. We call it our quantifiable goals, but the things we're looking for is for people to say and feel, which is really important for them to feel, I feel like I already know you, right? And I see you everywhere. I guess that's the wrong order. Like, I see you everywhere. I see you all the time. We need to be top of mind. We need to be consistent. And the result is, I feel like I already know you. And our mutual friend Carson, my host on Mastering Modern Science, he always says, I'm always looking for every little opportunity I can to increase my probability of success.
Okay, now what you said there was so powerful because there's so much now. Think about this. Now, does Chris put his message on billboards? Is he buying 60-second ads? No, no. His message is very tight. It's to his audience. So many people say, well, I can't create really a name for myself because how would I go about doing that? It really comes back to understanding where your market lives. Where do your customers live and keeping your message there? Chris has got a podcast, very niched podcast. But if you're in that space, you're going to find value in listening to that podcast. That's the key. I mean, the key is so many people say, well, why try to build an online reputation? Because nobody's ever going to see it. It's like a blue ocean. Yeah, I get it. It's a blue ocean. But here's the thing, your reputation arrives before you do. I've said that line for years. Your reputation arrives before you do. The key is making sure that your reputation is being built in just those areas where your customer is going to find you, has potential to find you. Now, here's something that I find that, we all want referrals, right? I mean, I love when I get referrals. And what I hear so many times is somebody will call me and they say, hey, I was referred to you by so and so. And I've been out looking at your website. I've listened to your podcast. I've done it. Wow. I, I can't believe we haven't met before. Because what happens there? The person who referred them referred that person to me. Absolutely. Kind of, it became easier because of my online reputation. We have an exponential increase in every way of how we reach customers, how we reach the marketplace by developing that right online um, reputation. And it doesn't have to be as hard as
Yeah.
people make it out to be. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I think Mark, there's two things that are happening here simultaneously. Number one is people search before they want to talk. And LinkedIn is like an SEO superpower, right? So many times, if they search a name of a person and the company name, LinkedIn is going to come up at the very top. Your LinkedIn pages are going to come up quickly. Yeah, your website might, but LinkedIn, because they have so many URLs, because there's a billion of us that all have a personal, a unique URL for our personal profile. LinkedIn is an SEO powerhouse. So a lot of times LinkedIn URLs are going to come up at the very top of Google search. So what are people going to do naturally? They're going to click and they're going to go look at your LinkedIn profile.
And that LinkedIn profile is almost, okay, this is going to date me. It's almost that good housekeeping seal of approval. You know,
Yeah.
it's that thing that, wow, this is really safe. This is good. It's a little bit of that Switzerland. This is neutral. This is, oh, if I go to the website, that's going to be all, but I go to LinkedIn. And that's what makes this so powerful. But the key here is, how are we getting out there? Because again, go back to what we were talking about before we kind of hit the record button and began the
Mhm.
session. That LinkedIn has changed their algorithms. They've changed things. Talk a little bit about what you've seen them do.
Yeah, Alice Hyman and I, our mutual friend, were speaking last night, and we were talking about, there's all this chatter that, and some from some people on the inside at LinkedIn, that LinkedIn has the algorithm assessing content now to see if and basically rate it or judge it on an AI scale. So the more AI it sounds, they are limiting its reach, whether it's comments, because they're now taking comments and repurposing those. Really good comments that get a lot of engagement are getting wider reach, but they're looking at posts and comments, and the more AI they feel or they seem, they're suppressing their reach as a way to try and encourage more human posts. So we talk about being silent and not creating content. It's just as it's important in LinkedIn, but it's just as important in other areas. I mean, companies are still doing email campaigns. They're still doing, calling and stuff. But the content of what you're doing, if it's really just AI marketing messaging, you're falling in the, oh my gosh, there's another one. And as we were going to talk about the 1 hour per week leader-led content playbook, the value of it is in a 45-minute show session, your team can create sales content, marketing content, over 20 pieces. And what does that mean? It means, well, you've got blog articles, you have newsletter articles, you have emails, you have email campaigns, and yes, you have social content as well, LinkedIn newsletters, short videos, written posts. But the key here is we're able to go into a multi-channel with the leader's voice, their humanity, their person leading very, very quickly and very easily.
You know what? With that, I want to change what AI stands for. It doesn't stand for artificial intelligence.
Here
Should
it
stand
comes.
for should stand for authentic intelligence.
Ooh,
How's that? You like that?
sure.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
it's almost inauthentic intelligence, but yeah.
Oh, I don't, hey, I just made up, I just came up with that on the fly while you were talking. But this is the key thing that we have to be authentic out there. Pop up that next slide there because again, this is so key. I love this triangle: visibility, familiarity, trust, and conversations. And I almost say those two up at the top can almost be a little bit interchangeable because the more conversations we have, the more trust we're going to create, et cetera, et cetera. But it's so true. No, nobody's going to take a conversation with anybody unless they trust you. And again, this is what creating online presence is all about. And it's how we become, and I love the word thought fluencer. Thought fluencer. That really, really is cool. Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
and what I like about that, Mark, is that so many leaders I talk to, they'll say, look, I don't want to be an influencer. Like, and there's a lot of things I think we don't know when somebody says the word influencer, we don't know exactly what they have in mind. It's kind of like the word marketing. You have no idea what somebody really means by it. There's so many areas of marketing. They say an influencer, they might be thinking of influencers on TikTok that are hawking, sponsorships to a bunch of it. Well, yeah, you don't want to be that person. You're a leader, you're a sales leader, you're a CEO, you're a COO of a company. That's not the approach. You might be thinking of like the bikini models on Instagram or something. Like there's all these things that could be coming up. I like thoughtfluencer as a term because you need to be leading your industry with how you think. You need to be sharing, what have you learned in your 25 years experience? And when you start sharing that is when you become a thought fluencer. And the cool thing is it elevates all the areas of your business because just as you were saying before, if we say Microsoft, we think of Satya, but if you get an email from somebody working at Microsoft, but you still have this perception and they have this reputation, then yeah, we want to talk to somebody else from Microsoft because Satya has done such a great job of building a brand for himself and elevating the Microsoft brand in the process.
and that brand hangs out there. And of course, this he is truly an outlier. Apple, we think of Steve Jobs, and yet he passed away 10 plus years ago. So it's amazing. But we have to be seen as a thought fluencer because
Yep.
again, if we're not seen as a thought fluencer, we have no ability to really generate a deeper level conversation. And it's all about how do we attract the right customers. And I don't want to attract customers on price because if I attract customers on a low price, they're going to leave me for a lower price. I got to attract customers by way of being a thought fluencer. So I love that. Hey, there was a slide, and I don't know where you have in the deck, but you said that credibility from the top builds faster trust. It was a LinkedIn study.
Oh, the LinkedIn study. Yes.
Yeah,
Is that this one here?
yeah, that one there.
Had me for a second. I'm like, oh, do we have? Yeah, it's right there in front of me.
Yeah, I mean that's powerful
Yeah.
in terms of. But why don't you explain to the audience kind of what
Yeah,
that?
and I think if for everyone listening, what Mark and I have been doing is really trying to set up the foundation of why this is so important, and then we're going to get into what this 1 hour playbook looks like. Because if in these first few slides we've convinced you, like, hey, either I or yeah, I need to go like really put pressure on my CEO to do this. Then the big question is, how much time does it take and what do we need to do? And we're just going to give you the exact playbook that we do at Fist Bump for ourselves and for our clients. But this slide, this is what's really, really important with this is that this LinkedIn study showed that, and I think it makes sense. I mean, the psychology of this makes sense. We people prefer to engage and connect with humans way before we're going to connect with brands. Okay, so a post that was shared by a person or published by a person versus the brand was 24 times more likely to be shared with other people.
Whoa, say that again.
A post done by a person is 24 times more likely to be shared with others. So somebody comes along, looks at it, and shares it, either shares it to their news feed or maybe takes a link and shares it with someone they know, than a post that is published by a brand. Why?
Wow.
We connect with people, right? Look what Mark said, not look what the Sales Hunter website said.
Wow. That's absolutely amazing. That engagement. So it's 8 times greater
More likely to be engaged. Yeah.
if
Three
it's
times the same content is seen 3 times more trustworthy when it comes from a person, and it's 7 times more likely to create a conversion when it's a person sharing it versus a brand.
how many messages, how many times does a person have to see something? Like, for instance, say I didn't know you, Brandon. How many times would I have to see stuff from you before I began to say,
You know what's interesting, that when I first started getting into content marketing in 1997, and we did a lot of print, the number was 7. People needed to see 7 times, see something 7 times before they really even remembered it. The last number I looked at, and honestly it was a couple years ago, and I kind of quit. It was up it was up over 35 touches before they even have a recollection of seeing it.
what's that say? Does that mean the quality has gone down or the noise has gone up? The skepticism's gone up? What's that
I think
say?
that's a great question. I think it's all of the above, but I think what's happened too, and everybody, you're listening on here, share with us in the chat if you'd like. We can sniff out marketing messages so easily now. When we're scrolling on our phones and we see a post, we can sniff it out really quickly. The human spam filter, if you will, we don't even need to see that it says sponsored, just the feel of it, the words that are used. We're so quick to scroll past it, because why? We're tired of being sold. We're tired of being pitched. And Facebook has really had a hard go, but they were so focused on the revenue that every third post became a sponsored post, and people just started getting tired of it, so much so that people don't log in nearly as much as they used to. And we see that in every platform. So we individuals have just been conditioned to avoid marketing messages, which means when we have authentic, human, I was thinking about this, or I experienced this, when we have that type of content, our human pauses. And I believe, call me crazy, but our humanity is designed to connect with other humanity. So when there's content that is genuine, not AI created and throw my name on it, but genuine. I had this experience. I'm not sure what it means, but this is what I experienced. We stop. We're much more likely to stop and engage with it because our humanity needs it.
How much personal commentary do we need to put into posts? How much personal stuff? Because again, we don't want to turn a LinkedIn post into Facebook.
Right. No, I think it has more to do with storytelling. And that's why I intentionally use the word humanity instead of personal, because it's about sharing our humanity. Look, you've been in an industry for 10 years, 20 years, man, you've been in it for 6 months. If you're just sharing your experiences, hey, I experienced this, and this is what I think it means, but I'm not sure. Or, hey, let me tell you this story of what I experienced or what I've gone through, or conversation. Hey, there were 3 of us in the industry talking the other day. This is what we were talking about. These were the 3 different opinions. What do you think? That's the type of authentic humanity content that I'm talking about. And yeah, there's room for more what we would traditionally call personal stuff, because just like at a networking event, just like at a dinner, Mark, when you have dinner with a lot of CEOs, what percent of that conversation over dinner is more human, personal versus business? And it depends on the person, I know.
Yeah, but you know what? It's a lot more human. Especially,
Right.
we always say, if I can get you out of the office and get you to a meeting, get you to a dinner, get you somewhere, we can have a much more candid conversation, because again, we reveal more of ourselves.
Yeah.
Uh,
We get
you
more
know
fit.
what? Maybe that's what makes podcasting so effective.
Yeah, and that's why, Mark, I have found we went down 2 paths. So for everybody, we're getting into the playbook now. We had gone down 2 paths of helping CEOs and leaders create content, build a personal brand, if you will, and show up in LinkedIn and create content across multiple mediums. We started moving more towards podcast and shows because they were easiest for leaders and they work so well. So just to give you a little bit before we get into it, this is Melody Keel. She's the founder and CEO of the Research Associates Group. And when she came to us, she said, I don't have a reputation on LinkedIn and I really need to do it because nobody knows me in my industry and I need to know them. And so this is what we did in a very, very short period of time. And I will, the update on this is between the fourth and fifth month. This is that asterisk, right? Results vary, but she's had over $300,000 of new revenue come in
That's
and
huge. That's huge.
1.2 million in new pipeline, and her confidence level on their conversion rate, she can start to assess, really predict what kind of new revenue she's going to bring just by showing up consistently, creating human content, her voice, not marketing message. It's her experience, what she knows, her show, talking with guests. That type of content is what's driven that for her.
Okay, I got to call this out because this is amazing that she can achieve that significant of results. And yet look at her followers. She just went from 350 to 1,001. It was only it's not like she added 50,000 followers, 100,000 followers, 10,000 followers. It was not even 1,000.
Right.
That's incredible. Because but again, I think it comes back to targeting, knowing exactly where your customer is and engaging with them at that level. Yeah.
And I think I also believe it's the quality and the type of content that we're creating through this. It's not, one size fits all marketing message. It's Melody talking. It's sharing her experience, sharing things, telling stories, that type of content. And what we do is we interview her and we put her on her show where she interviews other people and they have a chat. So it's much more natural. They're just talking, they're storytelling, they're sharing experiences, they're talking about, oh yeah, this one time this happened. And then we take that content and we turn it into blog articles and emails and social posts, of course, and newsletters and LinkedIn newsletters. But when we go back to this slide and have the visibility and the familiarity, we're making sure that in a multi-channel way, her voice, her leading her company is getting out there consistently, and we're developing familiarity and trust faster than what a typical marketing message would do because we're leading with her and therefore we're creating the conversations.
Okay, now you just said something else. So this all comes off of a podcast that you helped her put in place, right?
Yeah, two things with Melody. So she does a podcast and she does our thought leadership route, which means twice a month for about 30 minutes or so, we interview her. And we've just found it's the easiest way to get what's going on in here. I mean, think about this for any of you. How many times have you sat down to write a piece of content? You go, and
Ah,
you fight with it for a while, and then you have going, oh, I'll do it later. And then 3 months go by and you never wrote that article or that blog or whatever. So I just found that, we all talk, we talk every day. It's so much easier just to get somebody to sit down for 30 minutes, ask them a few questions and let them tell stories. Now we coach them and things like that on how to do it well, but it's just getting them to talk.
can I tell your audience something? You're listening to this, you're watching this. This is exactly how I built my business. This is the exact playbook I use to build my business. Everything I do comes off of my podcast and my videos. And it comes down to just sitting down, my team, we go through the exact process. So I if you're watching this, I mean, understand that this, and it's a very simple approach. What's funny is I put, anybody who's followed me know that I put out a tremendous amount of content out. I haven't written a blog post in years. I have not written a blog post in years. It all starts with my podcasts
Mhm.
and my videos. And it's interesting, but my podcast, actually, because I'm talking to guests, I'm talking to people like you, I come up with ideas that then become a very easy video to make that then become, and This is exactly what you're telling people to do is exactly how I built my business, and it works 100%.
I love it. Thanks, Mark. Let's talk a little bit. We're going to get into the
Yeah,
playbook next, everybody, but
yeah.
let's talk the last piece. Like, I think this is really important. Why most CEOs don't create content and what to do about it. Mark, I think it's always comes down to that resistance, those fears. As I say, I mean, I've got an ebook out there that's the 5 myths CEOs choose to believe about social media that's costing them millions. But Mark, what do you think? Why do most CEOs not create content consistently?
I think it's just that they're just afraid to get started. Yesterday, I'm speaking at a conference and I'm attending it. I'm listening to other speakers. I'm listening to things, and I came away from that with 3, 4, 5 different insights. And very quickly, I'm going to turn that into a see because I can speak better than I can write. I can turn those into very quick podcasts. Wow, there's some people who I want to get on my podcast there, and so it this becomes a muscle. Creating content and authentic content is a muscle, and it's like going to the gym. First time you go to the gym, you go you just can't do anything. But you get into the routine, and this is why I like your approach because you say you sit down with people twice a month. You're exercising the muscle. So
Yeah.
it's not hard once you get in the groove.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think as we move on with this too, I mean, here's something I fully believe in. It's 2025, people. And I get it. You don't want to create content. You don't, especially Gen X baby boomers. You've been at this a long time. We didn't have to do stuff like this before. Marketing controlled messaging. Marketing created print materials and direct mails. And yeah, maybe every now and then they would, do a little quote from us, but we never had to create content. Well, guess what? It's 2025. LinkedIn is the most important business platform in the world. And what LinkedIn is a place like a 24/7 trade show or conference for your industry. Everybody's there. They all have name tags on. And what are they doing? They're talking, they're creating conversations, they're listening to other people. This is just part of the job description in 2025. If you're a CEO, like it or not, it's just part of the job description.
It is, and that whole reframe again is not nearly as complicated
Yeah.
as people make it out to be. And again, this is the piece that I love that what Fist Bump does because
Yeah.
again, you guide people through this process, and it allows the CEO, that leader, to just
Yeah, and for everybody, Mark, I'm going to say, like, here's our playbook, and yeah, it's a webinar, and we're going to tell you, hey, if you want to talk to us or somebody want to talk to us, come talk to us, and we would love to help you. You can do this on your own. What I generally tell people, I had another conversation just yesterday with the CEO of a company, and he said, Brandon, I just what I'm trying to struggle with is we can do everything that you guys do. And I just smiled. And so usually what I do and let them get to their own decision, which is like, how long have you been wanting to create content for social? And he's like, oh, a couple of years. And in the last couple of years, I've done like 3 videos. I said, that's why you hire us.
that's
That's it.
eh, this is about accountability. This is about accountability. You know that I do a podcast every Saturday morning with my co-host Meredith Elliott Powell, and that podcast only happens because we're accountable to one another. She and I have both said, we've done hundreds of episodes. She and I have both said, this would have died a long, long ago if it hadn't been. I say, man, I got to make sure I'm there because Meredith's going to be there. Meredith says, I got to make sure I'm going to be there because I know Mark's going to be there. It's the accountability. The average podcast, and I don't know if this is current, but this was about 2 years ago. The average podcast only has 7 episodes. 7 episodes.
It's still
And
accurate.
why? Because there's no accountability. And again, this is what Fist Bump, this is what you do so well. Think about this. If I'm a CEO and I've got people working for me, and I used to lead a large sales team, and I had to make sure that each one of those salespeople were held accountable. They were held accountable to their boss. They were held accountable. What are we doing? Fist bump is helping you hold your message, hold your plan. Because again, like that CEO you were talking to, yeah, I did it a couple times over the last couple of years. It's not going to happen.
Yeah. And he had one video on TikTok that had like 45,000 views and he got 2 deals out of it. I said, well, then when was the next time you did a video? He's like, oh, it took me months before I did another one. Like, what?
Oh, wow.
You had a video that had 45,000 views, and who cares about the views? You had 2 new customers that come from it. You made money on it, and then it took you months to do another one. So
Yes, and social media and your online presence is a lot like a snowball up at the top of the mountain. And once you get it going and you keep it going consistently, it gets pretty big by the time it gets down to the bottom of the mountain. But if it hits a valley and stops, it doesn't go anywhere. And the valley is the breaks that we inadvertently put into it. And again, this is the accountability of what Fist Bump brings to the party.
So here's the playbook, everybody. Look, it's you start with a show. It's 1 episode per week. Why? Consistency for visibility. That's the key thing. And then, as Mark was alluding to earlier, the average show has about 7 episodes, and then people quit. So what happens when you start is most people go, oh, another one. But when you start getting into 20, 30 episodes and people go, oh, they're still at it. I experienced this, and Mark, you can speak to this as well. My Mastering Modern Selling show, we're up over 135 episodes, I think now. It was right around the 30 to 50 episode where all of a sudden people were asking me about it. I'd go to an event and people like, hey, I've seen your show. I love your show. I'm like, I've never seen them comment, never seen them, show up in there, but they're watching and they're paying attention, and you start building this reputation because of your show. You've experienced that too, I would imagine.
Oh, I can never be with a group that this event I was at yesterday, several people said, oh, hey, I catch your show. Do you guys really do that every week? It's, Saturday morning? Yeah, we do. But it, even though I don't know they're there, they're there. We are creating this. This is why leader-led content that you put together is so valuable. I know you got a couple more slides that you want to go
Let's
through.
get through this. So,
Yeah.
leaders, somebody goes through, you create your show, make sure it's strategically named for your ideal customers to go, oh my gosh, they're speaking to me. I need to go watch this show. Your episodes, we're not going to talk about today, but we've got 4 different episode strategy styles that you could choose one and do it all the time, or most of our customers will do two different styles and rotate through it. But the idea then is we create the event, we publish it out. Leaders, you show up about 5 to 10 minutes before the episode. You talk with your guest, your agenda is already created, and then you start recording or you go live, and you have a chat. And leaders, you've been in your industry long enough. You have experience with this for 10, 12 hours a day for how many years? All the information, all the research, it's already in here. You're just having a chat. So it's not very difficult. Have a chat for 35, 40 minutes. Sometimes you get excited and go an hour. Great. When you're done, you go back to your job. You go back and do what you do. And then the team, whether you hire Fist Bump or you have your team do it, the team can take the video content and the transcripts and create a series of sales content, marketing content, including social media content. And I've said it a few times before, but that includes blog articles and newsletter content and email campaigns, even call scripts for sales at times. And of course, you've got the long video from the show that goes out to YouTube and LinkedIn and Instagram if you want, and even Facebook if you like. But then we come back with the video and we create a series of 30-second to 90-second shorts and push those to YouTube and LinkedIn. You can do 5, 6, 10 of those sometimes from an episode. What are we doing? We go all the way back to the pyramid that we talked about way back here. It's about visibility, it's about familiarity and building trust. And as Mark was mentioning earlier, it takes a lot of touches before people start to remember.
Yes. But again, fist bump accountability. It's accountability. And so this, and And I'll tell you what you're doing, what you're helping people do is, again, it's a very methodical approach. And again, you got the sales content up there, the call script, the sales. Again, you're just walking people through. Yeah.
Here's a menu for everybody. And look, this isn't complete. You could add more. We every 6 to 8 weeks, we do a much more strategic show and we create out even more content. But this should be a guide. You could take every episode, and this is where I like using AI a little bit. I mean, we got to be very careful with the prompts and things like that. But when you start from a transcript, you already have their voice, you already have their words, and you can ask AI to craft it into messages without changing the tone or the style or the voice of the individual person. But you're creating sales content, you're creating marketing content, you're creating social content, and you're creating a ton of it. And now it's just the accountability, as you say, Mark, of actually using it. And few advantages are happening here. You're being consistent. You've got the leader's voice. You're bringing that humanity to it. You're not just hiding behind your logo and a marketing message. You're leading with people and your buyer's humanity. They're going to remember them more than they remember a logo. They're going to resonate with them more. And every week you have fresh content and you're growing and building this reputation for the leader that's elevating every area of the company.
And this is the exact playbook I have used to build my business. And it works. There's not one element I would change in that. The only element we don't do a good job, and that is the LinkedIn carousel. Other than that, every piece in there we do, and it works. And it creates a repetitive model that generates a tremendous amount of business, and you
Yeah.
become the thought fluencer that you're looking for.
Absolutely. So, Mark, I'm gonna actually we hit this pretty hard earlier, so I don't know if we need to hit people even harder. What happens if you stay invisible and we're running a little bit later than we wanted to? Is there anything key in here, Mark, that you want to highlight for everybody, or you want to repeat?
I mean, again, this strategy we've been talking about helps you overcome each one of those pieces. There's not one element that doesn't get taken away. I don't have to worry about it when I adopt this strategy. Jump over to the next slide, because again, we do have a call to action. We want to get people
Absolutely.
engaged here with us. So walk people through what you want people to do now.
Yeah, so we put all of this into a playbook that's much more of a blueprint. It's a map. Like, this is exactly how you do. This is exactly what we do. This is how you can implement this 1 hour per week CEO. You're going to need a team. Like, you'll need a team. And if you have a team and you can do it, get the blueprint. Let us know how we can help you and go for it. If you don't have a team and this has resonated with you, then let's talk. We'd love to see if we can help you to implement the blueprint. And then the last thing would be, I do a workshop, Mark, and you and I have talked about it. It's called Messaging That Creates Customer Conversations, and it's designed to lay the foundation for not just having a show and a podcast, but all the messaging strategies that go around it, so that you can really build a very strategic on point. I believe that any company that has not revisited their ideal customer profile, their ICP behavior, their ICP firmographics, and therefore the messaging that they use since COVID, they're probably really, really missing, because their buyers have changed so much. Their behavior has changed. Same people, same titles. Their behavior has changed. Your competition has changed. AI has changed the way that your buyers are engaging with content. You have to you owe it to yourself to relook at your ICP and your messaging.
And Brandon, I love your quote, reputation is the new prospecting. It truly is. It absolutely is. Yeah. This has been a great
Reputation.
conversation. And I do hope, people have been listening to this. You got some ideas as to how you can change and become a thought fluencer. But two, you really understand what Fist Bump can do for you. And I'm going to encourage you to download that ebook. Download the ebook and take a serious, because again, the clock keeps ticking.
Yeah.
And like that CEO, you said, well, they thought about it for a couple of years. You know, you can keep thinking about it, but that's not going to change your business. And now more than ever in this economic period we're in, I think it's spot on. Hey, I love this whole thing. What if I'm scared of being on video? That ship sailed. Get over it, folks. Um, welcome to 2025.
I think that's the key there, Mark. I'll be honest, my own imposter syndrome, my own fear of being too out there, over in previous years. I was like, this is good. It supplements this and that. And just in the last probably 6 to 9 months, I realized that I was not serving people well by being light or soft with my message. I think that's the message. You may not like it, especially like we attract a lot of Gen X and baby boomers are a little bit more tentative, um, and just not used to it. But it really does come down to that. We're a quarter of the way through the 21st century.
Yeah. And
This
that,
is
yeah. I
part
mean,
of the job.
we talk about AI, but we are living in an authentic world. And authenticity is how we break through. Yeah. This has been a
Yeah,
great program.
yeah, Mark, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. I want you to go ahead and I want you to go ahead and
I
put a
was
cap
just,
on
I was just going to say it's going to be really interesting to see. I mean, none of us will be around in 100 years, but to look at how history looks at this time period that we've just lived in over the last 25 to 40 years, and even the next probably 15 years coming. I believe that history is going to look at what we just have gone through, that we're living right now, much like we look at the Industrial Revolution.
it. Yeah.
It's
Uh,
major.
This is a major change. And we can either go along for the ride or we can help impact it. I want to help impact it. So thank you for
So
joining. Thank you for joining
yeah,
today.
thanks everybody. I didn't see any questions in there, but I don't know if that means we were so good at our content, or we were so bad at our content. I think it's that we were so good, nobody asked questions. But anybody, if you have questions, you can pop them in there. Mark and or I will be happy to answer those. If you have questions afterwards, Mark and I are both on LinkedIn, as you would imagine. You can connect with us there. And yeah, Mark, there's my last quote.
I love
Reputation.
that. Reputation is the new prospect. That's a great quote. Dang, I wish I had come up with that. Man.
Well, Mark, thank you so much for joining me today. I really appreciate it. You've been such a support, a fist bump, and an encouragement to me. I really appreciate it. And I know it's because this is the way you built your business.
Right. This is the exact playbook as to how I built my business. So I can tell you right now, everything Brandon's been talking about works 100%. Period.
I see in the chat, Rosemary Kidman. I love this. She said, I arrived late because I was over here BDRing, but very much appreciate the message, and she's going to be sharing it with her CEO. Well, Rosemary, thank you for that. If your CEO wants to chat with Mark or I, we'd be glad to have a chat with them. Um,
Great.
uh, yeah, and Gian, how much does it cost for your service per month? Mark, the horrible answer, it depends. Gian, let's chat. I know you and I shared messages earlier on LinkedIn. I'll pop in on there. Maybe we can have a
Yeah.
conversation. It's going to run from on a low end around 2,500 to $3,000, and it can go all the way up to 15,000. Don't let any of that scare you. We crawl before we walk, before we run. We want to make sure it's working for you. You're getting an ROI before you're ever thinking about spending a lot more money. But those are the ballpark numbers.
Yeah. And the amount of money I spend per month is way greater than that. And the only reason I do that is because I get the ROI.
Yeah,
Massive. Yeah.
absolutely.
Great.
All right,
Good.
everybody. Thank you for joining us. Mark, thank you so much again. A big fist bump out to you. And I owe you another fist bump and a big hug my next trip to
Hey,
Dallas.
thank you much, man. Take care, everybody. Great selling.
Uh, cool.